Hey guys, what's up here? Today's video I want to talk about is the original Thief trilogy and what I got from playing such a immersive simulator from the late 90s to early 2000s and what I really am fond of with the genre. And to give you a little bit context of what I'm talking about, I wasn't familiar with Thief until like a decade ago when I watched a Watch Mojo video on like top 10 stealth games. I know, right? Watch Mojo, like what can you expect from that? But anyways, one of the top entries was Thief, and when I saw the gameplay of like literally the first level, Lord Baffert's Manor, and like the ability to like walk up to a person and just knock them out with the club. I thought that was kind of like riveting, because normally in stealth games like Assassin's Creed or Splinter Cell or anything, there's usually a context sensitive button for you to press, like the B button, for example. So you just walk up to somebody and you press the B button, and it'll do like an animation of some sort of like string of them, like in a chokehold or something. But for Thief, this was really different, and so then I was curious enough to look up the series, and I what I found was a very gothic industrial like stealth immersion sim, none the likes of like any other stealth game I played. Now, to be fair, my experience with stealth games has probably gone like a little far, like back to like before anything major. So like the first like official stealth game I've ever played was Assassin's Creed, and that was like literally right when it came out. I think this was like 2007 or 2008, and the thought of just like being able to blend into a crowd or mask your appearance and like you do like all these like acrobatic things was pretty amazing for like a individual such as myself. But when I researched Thief and the people behind it, Looking Glass Studios, I realized that I really missed out on a era of potential video games because I was born in '99 and Thief Dark Project, or Thief Gold as you call it, came out the year prior. And so in 2014, I was morbidly curious enough to play my first official Thief game, and that was the 2014 reboot, whatever you call it. And even though like that game really was a total colossal like PR stain on the Thief Trilogy IP itself, I really got a kick out of like the really immersive like gameplay, like being able to use the shadows to your will, or like walk up to somebody, steal their gold or whatever, any valuable keys or whatever, and then like make a getaway or try to like challenge myself to not be detected as much. And so recently, last year, around like October or such, I got into GOG gaming and I bought the three Thief games for a good price of like almost $5, if you will, because they were on price by like 70% off. And I found them to be really fascinating, but I think my total influence from Thief was watching this person on YouTube. I think their name was like um, Joxer or whatever. Like he's a old YouTube channel, but basically he did like all the three Thief like gameplays, and I would watch them like back to back, and it was just really like amazing and immersive to look at a gameplay design that was made in like late 90s early 2000s and see what Looking Glass did for the Thief trilogy, because you gotta understand this was a time in video gaming when immersive sim was just not only like a concept, but it was like a feel for it, because it wasn't as just simple playing like, oh, go from point A to point B. It was rather just like you can do many ways to reach that objective. As long as that objective is clear, you can like have the freedom as the player to get to whatever you need. So if you want to like go underground or over the wall or through the wall, like whatever means like it's just really cool. Like I kind of wish video games had that kind of player freedom. And so I recently got playing into them. And the thing about me with stealth games is I'm a perfectionist. I don't want to be spotted at all. So it definitely was a tough challenge for me to save scum a lot and try not to like hesitate like using it whenever I get spotted or whatever. Because usually like I don't think the games really judge you too harsh on like whether you get spotted or not. As long as you get the objective done, that's what matters. Because I bet there's like difficulties out there where it's like you can't be spotted at all. Like if you get spotted, like it's a instant game over, you know. And what I really wanted to get out of this video was to get my thoughts and discussions about the original Thief trilogy and what I found to be like the pinnacle of modern stealth gaming. Because as I went into the rabbit hole of looking at Thief, I realized that many of the modern stealth games that we play today have some little bit of roots leading back to the first game that came out in 1998. For example, as many people and I barely even know anymore with this IP genre, Splinter Cell was one of like the main things to come out of the stealth genre, and Thief had a really big influence on it, not just like in terms of stealth gameplay, but also gameplay like aspects, like with sound, with lighting. Like this was like something so innovating and phenomenal that no gaming company has ever made back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. So not only did the player have to get to the objective, but they also had to watch where they step in the light and how much noise they make. And with those like two intrinsic complex gameplay aspects, it really adds a whole nother depth to the game itself because it's no longer encouraging people to just rush through on ahead without thinking. It's more like you're assessing the situation and like trying to figure out like how can I get to this objective without like this guard being seen. You know what I'm talking about. So, um, the first game, Thief, I played. I think it was really phenomenal. Like I think the horror aspect made it like much tenser. That the odds against the player were like somewhat high, but then I can understand why. For the feedback in Thief 2, when they made it, it was more urban stealth and not like cosmic horror or anything. Because the thing is, when Looking Glass Studios made the first Thief in 1998, it was really an ambitious and first attempt at the stealth genre. And even though it like gained a lot of success, there were still some areas to fix on between the level designs and the pacing of the game. So one of the major feedbacks that they improved in Thief 2 was the removal of like maze-like levels. Like, because I noticed that when I first played through in Thief 1, is I always wonder like where to go next. And even though I refer to the map as many times as I want, I still get lost, you know? Especially that one level where you're trying to get to the cathedral and the streets are like, even though on the map the streets may look like clean, there's still like block or debris like in the way, and you have to figure out like in this like very dark lit area, by the way, which is like something I've noticed. It's very dark in these games, like, and for the purpose, I try not to um, turn up the brightness very lightly or very high. I try to at least like contrast it between what's a shadow and what isn't, because I think the main emphasis of the tool you use in Thief is the shadows. The shadows are your best friend. It's what protects you from the enemy. It's what allows you to traverse through on the levels. And yeah, I think it's a really like smart and like amazing idea for a stealth game because not many developers ever thought of using like lighting as a main source for the player to like take advantage of. It's most likely in the terms of crowded areas or like high what is it like unapproachable, inaccessible areas that the player can get to because they want to be more linear with the level design. And from what Thief is, with the immersion sim, you can go anywhere you want. You don't have to like go along the roller coaster. You can just do your own thing, you know. So if I wanted to get to like a cathedral or something, I would just take like an underground pathway that's filled with water, or I could just go around the sides, whatever I need to, because in the game you're given a lot of arsenals and tools. Arrows plays a really big play because you got like your rope arrows, your fire arrows, your water arrows, your broadsword arrows in case if you just want to kill something, which I rarely use because I believe the philosophy that Gary doesn't kill because he's a thief, not an assassin. So why would he kill anything regardless if it's human or not? Like that's just something a thief wouldn't do. Like sure, it may be amateur, but that's his character, you know. But yeah, these arrows and your bow and your blackjack, they really play all part into how to progress throughout the levels. And so for the first thief, it was very a fresh experience for me, and it took some learning to get into, especially learning like the pattern movements of the AI and like where their path finding is and everything. And so the horror aspect I absolutely adore because I don't think not many video games utilize horror like in a rare instance like it correctly like I know there's like main horror games out there like Resident Evil or Silent Hill that use horror like as an incentive for the player to push through, but for horror and Thief it really is like an unnatural uncanny feeling that the player is being stalked or watched by like another entity beyond their comprehension. And so this whole like trickster plot really like delves into like an interesting but like morbidly themed like horror game disguised as a stealth game, if you can call it that. Yeah, I think it's I think it's a stealth game disguised as a horror game, to be honest, because that's what it basically was. And sure, there were like moments where I was tensed up and I couldn't move because I was just waiting for the enemy to clear through, but I would say, like, for a 90s kid, anybody that grew up in the 90s, their first time playing Thief, it really must have, like, shocked them very, like, emotionally and mentally because of how terrifying the game was from the start. But anyway, I thought I found Thief 1 to be a really good start of the series. And at first, Kenny, my thoughts towards Thief 2 was I was a little under the impression. I thought it was just kind of overrated, you know, until I actually played the game and took some time, hours soaked in, and I realized that, wow, this is a really good game. Like, not only did they take the feedback from the first game and brought it, like, improvise it, like, bring in the urban stealth and more like way to incentivize the player to do more than that. But also the plot wise, it's like original and it's more. I don't want to say like in depth because I don't think it was really like that deep of like a philosophy, but it was more of just like like moral gray values. Like what does Garrett do like in the wake that some cultist like is gonna bring like a new change to the world by like spreading like this poisonous gas amongst the entire city. And so after I was done playing Thief 2 for like a couple of days, I found it to be like really amazing, and I understand now why people think it's like the best out of the whole original trilogy. And that leads me into Thief 3, Thief Daily Shadows, which by the way is like the only one of two thieves to be on the original X or on the Xbox platform. And to think that why would they do such a thing? You have to remember that development for these Thief games were a little bit tough. The first one they had to really like go all in or nothing. The second one they had to really get the feedback, but also rush because of financial management. And unfortunately for the Thief, or for the Thief Daily Shadows, Looking Glass Studios had to close down in the wake of all the games they made and how much money they couldn't make off. So that was quite unfortunate for them, but thankfully some of them moved into Ion Storm, which is like a Austin-based video game company. I think it was run by John Romero himself, who's also like infamous for like putting out Daikatana, which is considered like one of the worst video games ever. But yeah, when they got to working on Deep Deadly Shadows, it was kind of like a familiarity with the game and how they developed it for not only the PC but also the Xbox as well. And they used the Unreal Engine, which by the way is like considerably good at the time. But there's some things I have a few issues about. Like for instance, whenever Garrett jumps, sometimes he'll be stuck in this like falling animation idle, and the only way to break out of it is if you equip your bow and you like prepare to shoot an arrow. And I just found that kind of really annoying. But other than that, another complaint or criticism towards the Daily Shadows that I found was the size of the worlds for each levels and how many loading screens there are, because you gotta keep in mind, like, even though it's like a really ambitious game with the sort of like semi open world or whatever, like in fact this is the first Thief game to have like an open world slash hub area where you can like do like some menial tasks or sorry side jobs to keep yourself busy before you go on to the next mission. Which, by the way, they utilize the city like more into like a linear sort of cramped architecture structure, if that makes sense. Because you got like guards around the corner, you got like people moving in, and then like some uncanniness about. Which, by the way, they also brought back the horror aspects. I absolutely loved it. I know everybody who has played Thief Daily Shadows says that the Shellbridge Cradle is like one of the scariest levels in all of video game, and it even has its like own Wikipedia page, believe it or not. I actually found that to be really like intimidating at first, because the first time I ever watched somebody play that, I agree, it absolutely was terrifying. Like that entire level and atmosphere is just so like Silent Hill, like psychological thriller that it's not even funny to begin with, because you're going to like this abandoned place which once housed like orphans and now turned into like an asylum for people or something like that, and it has like a really dark history. But I won't get into like the spoilers of it because it's just you have to like see it for yourself. But yeah, playing these games, I realized that we really missed out on a golden age of gameplay genres where immersive sims were like becoming a thing, and how really like freedom driven they were. And I know like after Thief there were like many other games inspired by Thief that try to take on the torch for immersive sims, like BioShock for example. Like that's a major competitor like legacy behind, because believe it or not, Looking Glass made System Shock, which was like a precursor to BioShock in a way of, but just like in outer space. But it was more like one of those like PC games you had to play while you were like a child back then, or like a niche culture sort of like. And then afterwards, some stealth genre games kind of brought back into the immersive sim, like Dishonored. Like lately, I played Dishonored 1 and 2, and they are really good games, by the way. Like I have praised Arcane Studios for like taking influence from Thief and to bring it into their own game, but it was more like the lesser that like you're an assassin and you just can do whatever you want. You're not like a thief in a way. You're like a mystical assassin with like these cool powers, and I thought that was like really something of a treat. And so yeah, like I think the creation and existence of Thief really brought like a lot of good influence into the video game industry, because now with Thief hold within the hands of like some obscure gaming company, because they got bought out like from Eidos or Square Enix like a couple of years ago. But I have no I have no doubts that it'll never exist, because I don't think we're ever going to see a Thief game ever again, which is kind of disappointing to be honest. Because this series really was like it was a huge influence in late 90s, early 2000s video game. And I think that if you're a PC owner, if you love stealth genre actions or anything like that, I think playing Thief is really a good contender for you because it really has all these like sweet hidden gem moments in it, and like what its gameplay design was back then compared to like when you play like I don't know like Metal Gear or anything. Because I mean, yeah, it's just like something you have to play for yourself. I find them to be really good. I probably give the first game like an 8 out of 10, the second like a 9 out of 10, and the third like probably like an 8 out of 10 again, just for consistency. And for the 2014 one, we don't talk about that one. Yeah, I mean, that could be like its very own video, like right there for me, like talking about Thief 2014. But yeah, in suffice, I think it's really a gaming series that really like should be scrutinized more and like remembered fondly, because not only did Thief bring a lot of innovation to the sim immersive sim world, like along with Deus Ex at the time, it also like really encouraged a lot of gaming companies to carry on its legacy, and I really admire Steven Russell's voice. Like his voice is so iconic that anytime you hear it, you just think of Garrett. Like that's it. Like there's no other character that you can ever think of. And I know that he has appeared in like some games as well, in companies like Bethesda or Arcane with like Skyrim or um, Prey, like but that's like a whole different note. The fact is that Thief is like truly a game you must really play to like understand why everybody really follows it like a cult niche, if you will. But yeah, I just want to give my thoughts on it, and I would highly encourage anybody that like loves stealth games or like immersive sims that to go out and buy it. I prefer like goggames.com because they're really DRM free, and they're really low in price. They're probably like $2 or $1 each, and yeah, they're really like phenomenal games. So if you have any thoughts or comments regarding your favorite memories from the Thief trilogy, be sure to leave them down below, and check out my other videos as well on the channel. I stream Monday to Friday on Twitch, and I hope you guys have a good day. Be sure to like this video, comment, rate, comment, subscribe, whatever. And yeah, that's about it. This has been Woodscump, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.